In this video, we're going to be looking at the summary question. In this type of question, you'll have a question set in which the answers to the questions may come from one paragraph, two paragraphs, or multiple paragraphs. So this is what this question looks like. You're going to be asked to complete the summary below. So you're going to have a summary and you basically have to write the answers in the given blanks. This is very similar to fill in the blank questions, and you have to approach these questions in exactly the same way. Now, these questions go mostly in order. However, these questions are tricky. They are quite difficult because the answers can come from multiple different paragraphs. So this is a type of question that you want to save for the end. So here's a bit more explanation. So the questions go mostly in order, and whenever you have a question that goes mostly in order, you should assume that it goes in order. In this particular case, the summary question is a challenging one, so it's best to save it for later on. Now take note that if the summary question happens to appear in passage 1, then it is more likely to go in order. However, if it appears in passage 3, then it's more likely that it may not go in order because passage 3 tends to be more difficult than passage 1. So, what you want to do is when you see this question, don't answer it right away. Rather, what you should do is you should simply mark the keywords in the summary questions and then just leave it. Mark the keywords, have those keywords in the back of your mind, and then come back to these questions at the end. Because when you return to these questions after you have answered the easy questions, then you will already have a better understanding of what the passage is about. You will become more familiar with the paragraphs in the article, so it's going to be more easier for you to answer these questions. Otherwise, it can really take up all of your time. It can eat up all of your time as you go about looking for answers through different paragraphs. You don't want to do that. Save these questions for the end. Next, the questions in the question set for the summary questions can come from just one paragraph or from multiple paragraphs. So it can be a combination of 2 to 4 different paragraphs. And sometimes it can get really tricky because you might see that there is only one long sentence in the question, and in that one sentence, you might have to answer 3 different questions. There might be 3 different blanks in just one sentence. And sometimes it can be really tricky to the point where the answers in that same sentence from the question can come from different paragraphs. So it can be quite tricky sometimes. And that's especially true if you see these questions in passage number 3. So something to keep in mind. I'll show you more examples of this to make you more familiar with what to expect on these types of questions and how to answer them. Next up, as I already mentioned, you have to answer these questions exactly like fill in the blank questions. So scan the keywords, find synonym language, and then look for the answer that connects to the connecting words. Finally, as you already know, in this case as well, every question is going to be formed from only 1 to 2 sentences in the reading passage. So if you look at the entire question set, the different questions can come from different paragraphs. That is possible. However, the answer to each one of these questions is only going to come from 1 to 2 sentences. And oftentimes what they will do is they're going to take 2 sentences and they're going to put it together as one single sentence. They're going to combine 2 different sentences into one sentence. And that is something to be expected because these are summary questions. In fact, that is the very definition of summary. So you take 2 questions and you summarize it into one sentence. So now let me show you what types of directions you can expect to see. There are 2 types. This is type number 1. In type 1, you might have answer choices in a box. Now here's what you need to note if you get answer choices. If you get answer choices, then still what you should do is you should first mark the keywords from the questions. Most of the times you are going to be using keywords from the questions to find the matching sentences in the reading passage. So don't mark keywords from the answer choices unless, and this is a very important point, unless you find proper nouns, dates, or numbers in the answer choices. Basically, what that means is you should only look for the keywords from the answer choices if those keywords are easy, if they contain proper nouns, numbers, things that are easy to locate in the reading passage. Only then you should look for keywords from the answer choices, not otherwise. Okay? Don't do it otherwise. Otherwise, it's going to waste your time. Now, here's the next type of question. This is basically like your fill in the blank question. You just have a blank. Be sure to read the directions. It's going to tell you how many words you can write. So in this case, you can only write one word, no more than one word. And typically, this can go up to 3 words and or a number. You're not going to have directions in which it asks you to answer with an answer that is any more than 3 words and or a number. So that is basically the limit. So just write your answer in here once you find it, and be sure that the answer fits. Double check with the connecting words that come before the blank line and after the blank line to make sure that your answer does in fact fit. Now, here is the basic strategy with which you have to approach this question type. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to mark the keywords, underline them or circle them. Doesn't matter, whatever works best for you. And then you're going to leave them, okay? Don't do anything with them. When you see the summary questions on your test, mark the keywords, have the keywords in the back of your mind, and then leave them. Don't do anything with them. Then move on to other question types. Go on and do the easy questions that are in order. Do those ones first. Questions like fill in the blank, multiple choice, yes, no, etc. Do the easy questions first. Then, when you're answering these easy questions and you're scanning for the keywords from these easy questions, you need to keep an eye out for keywords from the summary questions. Okay? So what that means is you should have these keywords in the back of your mind, and when you are scanning for the keywords to these easy questions, you should keep an eye out for the keywords from the summary questions, so that when they jump out at you, if you notice them, you can mark them right away so that you can know where to look for when you do start to answer these summary questions at the end. So, once you have finished answering the easy questions that are in order first, once you are done with that, then and only then should you return to the summary questions. Okay? Because these are harder questions, and you will notice that this is something that you have to do for all the questions that are hard. And when I say hard questions, I mean 4 types of questions: the summary questions, the paragraph location questions, the pick from a list questions, and headings questions. Those 4 types of questions are difficult, so you have to do the same thing for difficult questions. Mark the keywords in these difficult questions, and then do the easy ones first, and when you are done with the easy ones, then you should return back to these hard questions. Finally, you need to start by answering the questions for which you have already found the keywords. So when you are scanning the keywords for the easy questions, you are going to come across some keywords from the summary questions. So the keywords that you find for the summary questions, those are the ones that you need to start with. Start with those questions for which you have already found the keywords while you were scanning for the answers to other easier questions. Okay? I hope that makes sense. You're going to see examples of this very soon. So let me now show you some examples of this type of question. Right now, I'm just going to be giving you a basic overview of how to answer this question type. And then in the following videos, I'm going to be showing you more detailed examples. So for this example, we're looking at this question, and in this summary question, we have 3 questions: 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to be answering these 3 questions for this example. And as you can see down here in the box, we have answer choices. So we just have to put the correct answer choice in our answer sheet for each one of these questions. So we're going to start off by first marking the keywords in the title. This can be very useful to locate the paragraph because sometimes all the questions are going to come from just one paragraph. Other times not. Other times it can be multiple paragraphs. But nonetheless, it can be quite useful to mark these keywords in the title. So title may have useful keywords, but not always. Sometimes the title can have repetitive keywords or useless keywords. It really depends. You have to look at the question and then you have to decide if these keywords are in fact useful or not. Now, once you have marked the keywords in the title, we are going to move on to marking the keywords in our questions. So let us go ahead and now mark the keywords in our question number 1. So in the first sentence right here, so these are the keywords for this first sentence. 3,000-year-old, burial ground, seafaring people, Lapita, abandoned, and Pacific island of Efate. So we've got some good keywords right here. We've got 3,000-year-old, that's a great keyword. Pacific island of Efate, that is a proper noun, so also another great keyword. Let's move on to our second sentence. Let's move on to this question number 2 and let's see what keywords we can find here. So these are the keywords: Lapita, explored, colonized, and so on. And then here for question number 3, in these 2 sentences, these are the keywords. All of these right here. And out of these, the most useful ones are Matthews Briggs and Australian National University. Those are proper nouns. So these are the easiest keywords here: 3,000-year-old, Pacific island of Efate, Matthews Briggs, and Australian National University. So it makes sense then to start off by answering question number 1 first, and then by answering question number 3, and then we can return to question number 2 at the end. Take note though that sometimes when you are scanning for keywords from the easy questions, you might come across some of these keywords. So if you have already located some of these keywords while scanning for the answers to the easy questions, then go ahead and start with those questions first because you've already located the keywords, so it makes sense to just start by answering those questions first. Also, pay special attention to these words, the connecting words, the words that come right before and right after the blank line, because they're going to tell you if the answer fits in the context, in the structure of the sentence, and if you have chosen the correct answer. So pay attention to that as well. Let us now go ahead and start to answer these questions. I'm going to start off by first answering question number 1, because we're going to assume, and let me put out a hypothetical imaginary scenario. Imagine that I marked these keywords in the summary questions, and then I went and I did my easy questions first, the questions that go in order. I did those easy questions first, and while I was scanning for the keywords to those easy questions, I came across the keyword 3,000-year-old. And I marked it. I marked it in my article. And since I marked it and since I already found this keyword, I'm going to start off by first answering question number 1 because I already found this keyword while I was scanning for other keywords from the easy questions. So that's why now that I have answered my easy questions, I am now returning to my difficult question set, to this summary question, and I'm going to start off by first answering question number 1 because I've already located this keyword before. So here we go. Here is question number 1. These are the answer choices. The question says, a 3,000-year-old burial ground of a seafaring people called the Lapita has been found on an abandoned dash on the Pacific island of Efate. Okay, now abandoned what? It has to be a noun. Has to be a noun. So what is going to be the correct answer? I'm not sure, but I actually located this keyword before. So that's why I'm starting here, and I already see this keyword. I also see that around this area, when I start to search this area, I see that I also see my other keywords here. For example, Pacific Islands. Lapita is a word that appears. So here I have my keywords, multiple of them. When you start to scan this paragraph, you're going to come across these keywords that have been used in the question. Island of Efate, Pacific, seafaring people, Pacific Islands, Lapita, burial ground, mentions that here, and 3,000-year-old. So now I know that I'm going to definitely find my answer in this paragraph somewhere around here. But specifically, I'm going to start reading this portion down here because it is only down here that the keyword, the main keyword, 3,000 years old appears. So this is going to be my matching sentence, this portion right here. And I'm going to read the sentence. Let's read it. An agricultural worker digging in the grounds of a derelict plantation scraped open a grave, the first dozens in a burial ground some 3,000 years old. Alright, now I see some synonym language here. I don't know if you do. Do you see it? So over here it says derelict. Now that is a bit of a complicated word, but that is just synonym language for abandoned. Abandoned means that it has been left behind, no one goes there anymore, no one cares for it. It's just like a lost place, like nobody cares about it. You know, like those houses that are broken in the city and it's just sitting there. Maybe some homeless people live there because those buildings have been abandoned. Nobody cares for them. Nobody goes there. So that is what it means to be abandoned, to be derelict. So abandoned what on the Pacific Island? Abandoned what? Abandoned plantation. That is the correct answer. So what do you think is the correct answer? Abandoned what? Abandoned what? Abandoned plantation. So plantation is the correct answer. So we're going to now mark that answer. The correct answer is B. And once you have answered the question, just put the question number next to it so that you know where you found the answer, because these questions, they go mostly in order, especially when these questions appear in reading passage number 1. Now let's move on to our next question. We're now going to be answering question number 3 because that is the next easiest question because of these proper nouns, Matthews-Briggs and Australian National University. So we're going to come down to our reading passage and we're going to start scanning for these keywords. And they're quite easy. Matthews-Briggs, Australian National University, they appear right there. And the keyword over here, Lapita, now you might think that Lapita is one of our keywords, and this keyword only becomes useful after we have located our main keywords, Matthews-Briggs and Australian National University. Lapita is only valuable in this area, over here. But not right here, not really, because over here, we're not sure if we're going to find our answer because this is a repetitive keyword. So it's not very useful. The whole article is about Lapita people, so this keyword is something that appears again and again and again. So we're not really looking for this keyword. It doesn't help us. But it does help us if we find this keyword around the area of our main keywords. Okay, then it becomes important. Alright, now here are the other keywords from the question. So we have researchers over here, burial urn right here, important discovery mentions that over here, and we already have our proper nouns. Great. So those are the keywords. We know we have located the right paragraph, but I'm especially going to be paying attention to this portion down here because that is where our main keywords appear down here. When I scan around this area, I also see that there's a term over here, digging up, and I immediately recognize that that term is synonym language. Can you guess for what? What is it synonym language for? Take a guess. Digging up the site. That is synonym language for excavation of the site. To excavate means to dig in order to discover something. Like this is what archaeologists do. They dig up old sites in order to discover hidden bones and fossils and different types of artifacts. Okay? So that is what it means to excavate, to dig up, in order to search for something, usually for something related to history, something related to culture, something important. Over here, I have another term, conclusively identified. Well, that is synonym language for confirms. Because when you confirm something, you conclusively identify it. You know for a fact that it is what you think it is. It has been confirmed through evidence, through science, through research. It has been conclusively identified. So this is our matching sentence right here. This is where we're going to find our answer since the keywords appear here as well as synonym language. Let's read it. It's an important discovery, says Matthew Spriggs, professor of archaeology at the Australian National University and head of the international team digging up the site, for it conclusively identified the remains as Lapita. Okay, confirms that the dash found inside are Lapita. So something that was found are Lapita. What was found? What was found? The remains were found. You see, when they dug up the site, when they excavated the site, they found something. And what they found were the remains of the Lapita people. Okay, so that is what they're saying over here, that the remains that they found inside were from Lapita people. So the correct answer is going to be remains. That is synonym language for bones. Okay, bones, fossils, something like that. Those are synonym words for each other. So we're going to mark that, put D as our answer choice for question number 3, and once you're done answering it, just put the question number next to the matching sentence. Great. Now let's move on to our final question. We are now going to come back to our question number 2. We left this for last because we didn't find any easy keywords in here. So now we're going to come back to our paragraph and we're going to now start scanning for these keywords here. So let's see. Here I see explorers, something about exploration here. All right, what else? To build new lives. Well, that is synonym language for colonize. To colonize means to set up an establishment or set up a civilization or to settle down, to start a new life somewhere. Okay, to colonize, to build new lives. Here it mentions tools. Let's see what else. Okay, I see several keywords over here. I'm pretty sure we're going to find our answer in this paragraph. Here are some of the keywords: explorers, tools, and several centuries. So we see that here. Tools, explorers, and several centuries. I also see these synonym words carried with them everything. They carried everything. Well, that is synonym language for they took many things with them. They carried many things with them. That is synonym language. There's also another synonym language over here, to build new lives. I mentioned that before. That means to colonize. To colonize. To settle down. To build new lives, to colonize means to settle down. So this is going to be our matching sentence where we're going to find our answer. So let's go ahead and read it now. It says, they were also pioneers who carried with them everything they would need to build new lives: their livestock, taro seedlings, and stone tools. Alright, well, the question says they took many things with them on their voyages, including dash and tools. Okay, so we know that they took seedlings, stone tools, and what else? What else did they take? Well, it says that right here, livestock. They took livestock. But it doesn't say livestock anywhere over here. What about taro seedlings? Nope, doesn't say that either. I don't see taro seedlings anywhere. What I do see is this word, animals. Well, that is synonym language for livestock. So the correct answer is going to be livestock. So you're going to put I in your answer sheet, and once you're done answering it, you can put the question number next to this matching sentence if there are more questions in the question set. If it's the last question, then you don't need to do this. So that's it for this video. I hope that you now have a good understanding of how to answer these summary questions. In the next 2 videos, I'm going to be taking you much deeper into our practice questions to show you how to do these in much more detail. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you in the next one.